Welcome, everybody, to the Joe Lee podcast, the Super Bowl edition. I'm your host, Joseph, and as always, joining me is.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Lee. You know what? I wasn't happy about the weekend. No, not at all. I was super nervous, wrecking. It was heartbreaking for me, and I knew this might come, but not the way that I expected. Especially when I checked the score. But yeah, how do you feel about this, like the conference championship games over the weekend?
Um, actually, it's like 50-50 because, going into the weekend, I was like, it doesn't matter who wins. Like, I'll be happy with, whoever wins either of these games. But then, like, as I was watching the games, I was like, well, I kind of want Mahomes to win this one. And then during the Rams game, I was finding myself rooting for the Rams a little more than the 49ers. And so, like, I think outside of the podcast, I try to like continue like the podcast mentality. But then I realized that like deep down, like I'm still like a fan of like particular like athletes or teams. And so, that comes out a little bit towards the end.
I think it must be tough, especially your parents are rooting for two different teams.
Yeah,
Like-
so for those who don't know or haven't watched the podcast from last week, I was talking about how my mom's a 49ers fan and my dad's a Rams fan. And so like those two are watching to see that their team's trying to go forward to the Super Bowl. And so like the whole time that I'm there, I'm like, okay, so I'm actually wearing like a 49ers t-shirt and I have like a Rams beanie on. And so I'm
Jeez.
like, and I'm just sitting down and I'm like trying not to show any facial expressions, not to do anything, not to like jump out of my seat when a play happens. And so I'm just trying to watch the game objectively, but like, at certain areas I was like, oh, whoa, like during the when Matthew Stafford kind of went on the last drive, I was really rooting for him.
Yeah.
But it's towards the end of the game, and I was kind of already thinking I knew what was going to happen. So, I mean, it was fun. It was a fun weekend for sure. During the Kansas City game, I was definitely rooting for Patrick Mahomes to pull out all the stops to go to the Super Bowl. Because I guess my dad asked me, and he was like, "Hey, son, what do you want to see at the Super Bowl?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's rough." And because I was trying to be nice, and I was like, you know what? Like, if I'm being honest, I probably want to see Kansas City versus the LA Rams. I think that's going to be like the best like matchup in terms of like quality football. So I got half of my wish. What about you, Lee?
No, I really want the Chiefs and Niners rematch, but I didn't get that. Once you told me like the Chiefs lost, I was like, yeah, I feel like maybe Niners will lose this one because it's not a good feeling because like you need the Chiefs to win the game, so for the Chiefs and Niners rematch to happen, but it didn't happen the way I wanted. But it's okay. This thing happens like in football. It is football. Like, what can you expect? Like, if you don't bring out your best performance, you just don't win the game. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, a lot of fun. Like throughout throughout Sunday, lots of celebrating. My mom didn't cry because, she's not that much of a 49ers fan. She kind of just.
Well, because of Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously.
Oh, yes. No, actually, no, not really. She's not a really Jimmy G fan. She's more of like a fan of the
Yeah,
team.
that's what I'm talking about because like he's Jimmy, right? Like
Yeah,
so.
he's Jimmy. Yeah, but no, it's because like there's that internet thing where like every mom wants to date Jimmy G because of his looks.
Oh, yeah, he's a very
Yeah.
good-looking guy, so.
Yeah, but no, that's definitely not my mom. She's just a 49ers fan.
No, that's great.
Anywho, let's get into these games. The Cincinnati Bengals, in my opinion, upset the Kansas City Chiefs 27-24 in what can only be described by me as being in complete shock at the end of this game. I couldn't believe what was happening. So, beginning of the game, Tyreek Hill with a 10-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes to have the first score of the game. So it's 0-7. Then with 36 seconds left, Evan McPherson scores a 32-yard field goal, and the score is 3-7. At this point, I was kind of like thinking, hey, it's gonna be probably a close game. Like Burrow and Mahomes look incredibly good in this first quarter. The defense was actually pretty nice. A lot of and you'll hear me talk about it throughout the game. Pretty much all the way up to the fourth quarter, it was the defense was quality defense. So if you're again one of those defensive minded people that are looking for defense in their football, first three quarters were pretty good. Second quarter, Travis Kelce with a 5-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes, and that makes the score 3-14. I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, the Bengals are just a little behind. I mean, it's only like 2-score difference at this point. So I'm not really like thinking that the game is over or anything. And then Kansas City scores again, which at this point I was like, oh, is this game going to end in like a blowout?
Gonna be a blowout game.
Yeah. So Mecole Hardman with a 3-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes, and so that sends it 3-21. And at this point, I'm like, okay, maybe I can go start doing other things if the score like gets worse. But then the Bengals are able to respond, and they get a 10-21 score, kind of reviving the hopes of them being in the game. And this is with 1 minute and 5 seconds left on the clock. Now, important note here that is not highlighted over here in the ESPN stats is that, Kansas City got a minute and they went down and they couldn't score against the Bengals. I believe the last play was a pass to Tyreek Hill, and Hill was double covered and stopped at the 1-yard line. So from the beginning of the quarter all the way to the end of the quarter, it was a pretty exciting game. Even if you were a Bengals fan, like you were feeling a little bit of that despair inside, like thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to blow us out. And then slowly you start seeing the team return, or at least on that like final drive for the Bengals, they managed to do a pretty good return. Tell me how you were feeling during halftime about this game.
No, I actually feel like, at first I was when it's like 3 versus 21, I was like, man, I think the Chiefs, if they can control this momentum, they will just have this one easy. But apparently it's not really the case, right? Because like they score a touchdown, so they kind of bring it back to just trailing by 11 points, because by then the Bengals were 10, right? So yeah, I mean, it was hard to say, because I feel like personally when I watch a football game, it's like trailing by 2 scoring possession. I'm not a big fan of it, like because like you're assuming the opponents will play their best defense. So if you're like behind by 2 scoring possessions, sometimes it's kind of like getting me scratch my head a little bit. But thankfully, they're like second half, right? So,
yeah, and maybe growing up it was a little different, because I was always of the mentality of like comebacks aren't usually possible, because like I would always see the Chargers try to do some garbage time comeback in the fourth quarter, and then like it never worked out, and so I'm like, is this what was kind of happening here? Like they were gonna make some garbage time points. It was 21-3, and I was like, nothing. It's rare that a comeback happens, especially with like high stakes, like championship type games. I've never seen a comeback like this during a championship game, unless it was like Tom Brady or something like that. So, I was thinking it was over, but. Now we get into the third quarter, and then in the third quarter, with 2 minutes and 58 seconds, Evan McPherson scores a 31-yard field goal, and the game becomes 13-21. Now I'm thinking, okay, well, we're just gonna get a couple more exchanges between Kansas City and the Bengals, and the gap is gonna stay the same. So I'm not like extremely worried. But then with only 14 seconds left in the quarter, Jamar Chase gets a 2-yard pass from Joe Burrow. And then the score is 19-21. And I'm like, oh, so now we have a 1-score difference. But because it was 19-21, there was an opportunity to tie this game. And so Joe Burrow passes to Trent Taylor for a 2-point conversion, and I was shocked that they got the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
And it was 21-21, and I'm thinking, are the Chiefs about to blow it against the Bengals?
The Bengals. Yeah, I think
Kansas City didn't score at all during the third quarter.
No, so I don't know because I didn't really follow this game that much closely, but it looks like it was all about Bengals defense.
Yes, yes. The
was
Bengals defense
unbelievable.
absolutely stepped up when in the first half of the game, they looked like trash. So I was surprised how efficient the Bengals defense came. And this is not like statistics or anything. This is just like my opinion and my dad's opinion. But he was saying like, that last touchdown that they had in the second quarter was like super important for them because it gives them hope that they can come back instead of going into the locker room and having to like, how do you devise a plan to come back from 21-3 when it's much easier to devise a plan to come back from 21-10? So I feel like the momentum shift kind of killed Kansas City in this third quarter.
Yeah.
All right. Then in the fourth quarter, Evan Mcpherson nails a 52-yard field goal. Again, Mcpherson was on fire the whole night or the whole day. Not a night game. And this was done in 11 plays, 46 yards, total of 6 minutes, 23 seconds. 24-21. Bengals get the lead on the game. And I think people are starting to freak out at this point that Kansas City is going to lose. Some in a good way, others in a bad way. I was like, oh my, like I still had faith because there was like 6 minutes left. And I was like, no.
Oh, yeah, you get a lot of time from home. Yeah.
But nothing really happened in the third quarter aside from that. And then they managed to get a drive in at the end of the fourth quarter, and Harrison Butker kicks it for a 44-yard field goal. This was done in 14 plays, 49 yards. And then the score is tied 24-24, and we're going to overtime. Now, once we're in overtime, Kansas City wins the coin flip. And then everybody and their mothers on Twitter were already saying that the game was decided because of a coin flip. And I'm like, that's not how the game works. You understand this, right? And if you look at the second half of this game, it was all about the Bengals defense. So you have very little faith that overtime actually works, as we've seen from last week, that no one believed. I guess in that case, it was kind of board, but it was just like weird to me that no one believed in the Bengals defense when they held Kansas City to a 3-point conversion.
Maybe however it was mostly they saw Mahomes were able to bring let the Chiefs to tie the game with 13 seconds left, right? Like last week, the week before actually. And so they were thinking like, yeah, this time the Chiefs got the ball first, so maybe they will win the game very quickly.
Yeah, so everyone was thinking Mahomes was going to score. Now, I want to talk about like reasons why Mahomes wasn't able to score throughout the game, but we're we're just gonna talk about overtime first. So pretty much Kansas City tries to score. They don't manage to get a score out of it, and Mahomes actually throws a pick. So I don't know why, but Kansas City had the ball at the beginning of overtime. And instead of doing what they were doing in the first quarter, which is like, 10-yard passes that turn into 15-yard gains, what they did was they did one 30 to 35-yard play, and it was intercepted. And I'm thinking, you don't have 13 seconds left. You have 15 minutes to score. Why are you throwing the ball like you have 13 seconds left? I don't understand this play call.
Mm-hmm.
And so they pretty much gave the ball to the Bengals, and Joe Burrow does what Joe Burrow does and gets them to field goal range. Evan McPherson, 31-yard field goal, 9 plays, 42 yards, 27-24 Bengals. That's how the game ends. So
yeah, I feel like that was almost like the execution wasn't that well. That play call where that resulting interception, I don't think that was good because, like you say, they did have a lot of time left, right? So if they take their time, you saw 10 minutes, who cares? If you do like 10 minutes, like even if you just kick a field goal, you still give the Bengals an opportunity to maybe tie the game again, like or something will happen, right? But at least you're guaranteed that at least you will be able to get closer to scoring position. But that interception really hurt them.
Yeah. So that was like everything that was like on my mind during the game. Again, just really surprised about the play calling. Now, I want to talk about something else, which seems to be like the main reason why Kansas City wasn't able to, do much. And man, I gotta say that O-line gave Mahomes 0 to no time. You saw Mahomes pretty much scrambling off the line. Every time a play started, the line would collapse immediately. And everyone saw Mahomes like dodging people and doing like circles around the O-line and trying to find something. And a lot of people in the community were like saying, hey, this kind of resembles what happened at the Super Bowl. This second half is just pretty much the Super Bowl from last year all over again. Just Mahomes running for his life to not get sacked. And you see it at the near towards the end of this game on that final drive in the fourth quarter. They lose like 30 yards because of the O-line being terrible. So I was legitimately shocked that was the case here.
I don't know. I just feel like maybe the sometimes like after they play so many games, the playoffs really expose the offense line. Maybe they're tired. It's hard to say. So I don't know. I sometimes I feel like maybe throughout the season the offense, the O-line can improve. They'll get better, but I don't know if if it's kind of like the disguise, like they kind of like disguise and put on a layer of makeup saying, okay, we're fine, we don't have the problem, but eventually they just couldn't do it anymore. They really exposed that maybe the O-line wasn't that really good in the first place.
Yeah, Kansas City O-line not very good. To be fair though, I do gotta say the Bengals O-line wasn't good either. And Joe Burrow managed to, pretty much get the same amount of points for his team. So it's not like it was on the quarterbacks per se. And, it reflects on the score. It was pretty even. This could have gone either way. Let me show you some statistics because it's pretty close between these guys. So passing yards, Joe Burrow, 23 of 38 for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Patrick Mahomes, 26 of 38, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So both these guys are pretty much even. The only difference is that Patrick Mahomes threw 2 interceptions. Joe Burrow on paper is looking way better than Patrick Mahomes here. So that was kind of interesting to see. And yeah, Joe Burrow is kind of showing that he's this like generational talent that can win championships for the Bengals. And we've been saying this like week after week, like how much this guy is shocking us. Because on our preview predictions from last week, I said Kansas City was going to win. And I had no doubt that they were going to win. And yet somehow they made it to the Super Bowl, the Bengals. And, you know, we're going to talk about this during our preview predictions of the next game, of the Super Bowl game. But if you watched last week's podcast, you already know what I'm going to say about Joe Burrow. Okay, just to like finish it out here, for rushing yards, we had Mcpherson with 21 carries and 88 yards. We had McKinnon with 12 carries and 65 yards. Mixon getting some more production here than the best running back for Kansas City. For receiving yards, we had Higgins with 6 receptions, 103 yards, which is pretty impressive for only 6 receptions. And we had Travis Kelce with 10 receptions for 95 yards and 1 touchdown. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of our coverage for the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Kansas City Chiefs. So Bengals move on to the Super Bowl. We will preview that game as soon as we're done with this one. 49ers versus the Los Angeles Rams, NFC Championship. So Lee, tell me how you're feeling.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks to lose. Like, I want to see Jimmy G play more, but you know, that Sunday game was his last game. I'm pretty sure with the Niners. But yeah, it was rough. I honestly, I didn't really think that the Niners were. You know, as much as I wanted to win, I feel like this one was going to be tough, even if they were leading. So it was hard. It was hard to watch. And like even this morning, I was trying to rewatch the first and second quarter of the game. I have to say that it was so painful to watch because it was so slow.
Yes,
so sad. It was so slow. I mean, like the defense was playing really well, and that's why you see a very slow game. Slow in the sense that they didn't really score much. I think the Rams were able to score 7 points on the second quarter. The Niners didn't really do much, you know, till at one point they finally were able to have some lead in the game. But I'm just like, yeah, with that lead, they're not going to do much. Like, unless the defense will do the job, but the offense will be able to score more points. But you watch the game, so maybe you could give us like more highlights about like what are your thoughts about the game?
The game was okay. It was okay. I mean, it wasn't like electric or anything like that. It was no Kansas City Bills, but it was definitely fun. Seeing the rivalry between my parents, and you know, seeing both of these quarterbacks, which kind of like similar situations. You have Jimmy G, who is ex-Patriots or a Patriots reject, as some people would like to put it. And then we have Matthew Stafford, which obviously coming from the Lions, not a great career. You know, they call him Pat Statford because he pats his stats. And so, you know, his whole career, it was about, you know, he was mentally tough QB, but in the worst system possible, which is the Lions. To be fair, that is the worst system possible. And so you had Jimmy G coming from being, I guess, the Bill Belichick project that didn't pan out. And, both these guys kind of have like their own stories about where they come from, what their struggles were. And so this is kind of like a culmination of like, hey, we told you so. We told you that we could go out there and be a better QB than, whatever you think we were in your eyes. And so, it was just two QBs trying to prove that they were the best. And, they're not amazing or anything. They're not Patrick Mahomes. They're not Tom Brady. They're not, Joe Burrow, but they don't need to be. They just need to get the job done. And so Jimmy G got it done last week. Matthew Stafford got it done last week. And this was like the head-to-head of two QBs that were just trying to get the job done. Starting here with the scoring summary, there was no score at the first quarter. First quarter was extremely boring. If you're into defense, this was legitimately just defense for 15 minutes. Nothing like too crazy or exciting. Second quarter, Cooper Kupp gets a 16-yard pass from Matthew Stafford. 18 plays, 97 yards in 7 minutes and 33 seconds into it. Then San Francisco 0, Los Angeles Rams 7. Then at the 6 minute and 10-second mark, Deebo Samuel has an incredible 44-yard pass from Jimmy Garoppolo. And this is done in 4 plays, 75 yards in 2 minutes and 36 seconds, 7-7 San Francisco. LAR. And so the game is tied, and it was starting to seem like it was going to get really interesting, and, it kind of does. The game gets a lot more watchable with some scores on the board, and Jimmy G looked good. I don't know what to tell you. He looked decent in this drive. I know people have been hating on Jimmy G a lot, and I just want to say he looked good here. Then at the end of the half, Robbie Gould with a 38-yard field goal. This was set up with 8 plays, 36 yards, and a minute 50 left. This sends it to 10-7. I guess the one thing I didn't cover is that Matthew Stafford could have had another score, but in the first quarter, he threw an interception on the first drive, which kind of derailed the team for the rest of the first quarter. But then, he managed to recoup 7-0, and then 7-7 Niners score, and then 10-7 Niners with a field goal. And that was the end of the first quarter. First quarter, let me see. It was interesting. It really only got going towards the second quarter. And, I was trying to be impartial, so I didn't have too many emotions going on. What about you? What were you thinking with this halftime score?
The halftime? Oh, I actually love it. Like, I was just like, how? Like, this is like, I was like, you know what? You need to build on that lead more. With the Rams, with the defense and how capable they are as an offensive team, like Rams offense is pretty good. Actually, they're pretty good. So when I know that, even if it's like a 17-7 or like 10-7, I'm just like, that's not enough. You need to score more than 20 points to have a chance. But I was happy. At least they were leading. They were not like behind, because I know in week 18, they were behind in this first half. Because I remember in week 18, they were like, I think they were like 14-3 or 17-3, trailing by 2 touchdowns. And then I'm just like, oh, that's not good. But this is like the opposite situation where we were 17-7 at halftime. So I'm just like, okay, I'll take that one for now.
10-7 at half.
10-7 at that time. Yeah. So a jump ahead. Yeah. So at halftime, they actually managed to score another, some points before the halftime. Yeah.
All right. So third quarter, we had George Kittle with a 16-yard pass from Jimmy G. And that sends it to 17-7. This is what you were talking about. Checking
Mm-hmm.
the score and seeing, oh my goodness, that's a 2 points, 2 score lead. I guess 2.5 technically.
Yeah.
And so my dad was freaking out. He was thinking, oh my goodness, are we about to choke? But he had faith in his team. He was like, nah, we're going to come back. And I'm like, man, you're always optimistic about these comebacks. I wish I
Yeah,
had
not
that type of
us.
mentality. I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, like they're going to choke. They're going to
Yeah,
lose.
yeah. You and I, we have that weird mentalities about our teams. I'm just like, yeah. And like, yeah, if we even if we lead like by like 7 points or so, it's just like, no, you need to score more. Otherwise, the other team will score more, Uh, I think I think to certain degrees is that we have little faith in our team to have a great comeback sometimes. Maybe it's from past games or past season games, all the disappointment, right?
Right. So, yeah, so that was actually the only score during the third quarter. And so, fourth quarter, at the 13:30 mark, Cooper Kupp gets a 11-yard pass from Matthew Stafford in 7 plays, 75 yards, and everything was done in 3 minutes and 29 seconds. San Francisco 17, Los Angeles Rams 14. At the 6 minute and 49 mark, Matt Gay with a 40-yard field goal. This was also done in 9 plays for 63 yards and in 3 minutes and 6 seconds. 17-17. And then to finish off the quarter and the game, Matt Gay for a 30-yard field goal, 10 plays, 49 yards, 4 minutes, 40 seconds, 17-20. So that was exciting for my dad. Not so exciting for my mom, but my mom did congratulate my dad on the victory, and she's gonna be rooting for the Rams. So
You know what is the hardest part was that the Niners did have they have a chance to actually maybe kick a field goal if they manage to get to the field goal range, but they couldn't
yeah,
do it. They couldn't
yeah,
do it. I saw that. I watched that replay. I just think that was hard. I think the offense line all line collapsed. Right? It
yeah.
collapsed.
The O line for the 49ers was just not there. There was a lot of pressure on the O line, and so
Mm-hmm.
I know everyone wants to blame Jimmy G for what happened in that play, but just go back and look at it. Jimmy G gets pressure on him. He has no time to release the ball. They close in on him. He knows that if he gets sacked, he's going to be farther back, and there's not enough time to be set back 20 yards. So instead, he sees the receiver on his left. He throws the ball to him, and it lands in his hands. He didn't catch it. I don't know what happened, but it bounced off of his hands like super awkwardly, and you just see it go up and into the Rams corner's hands. And I'm thinking like, how are you not catching this? This is the most
Yeah.
important catch of the game.
Yeah, because honestly, in that play, Jimmy was actually he was already close to being touched. Like I think they already got his jersey already. Like I could see it. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna get sacked, and then this is be over. He managed to do the ball, but yeah, it was not it was not just not good enough. I think he did his job as a QB for the season. So I mean that fourth quarter was just not good for the Niners. I told you about this where I wish like what I saw in the third quarter was actually the fourth quarter. Then it would be game over. I'll be yeah, Niners are going to Super Bowl, but that wasn't
Yeah.
the case. I was like,
They gave you
third quarter
hope.
is over. I was like 17-7. I was like, oh, is it fourth quarter? No, third quarter. Third quarter. Oh, that's not good, man. Like, come on, like we need to score more to win the game, but
The
well, it didn't
one time you
happen.
guys have the lead.
Yeah, but it is what it is. If you really, really look at it, not because I'm kind of like the Niners lost, I say this, but the fact that Rams went all in to acquire players, good players, that says a lot. Like they literally want to win the game, win the Super Bowl. They go all in, right? So if Niners could beat them, yeah, that's great. But then there's no reason to think that just because we beat them 6 times, that we're gonna beat them the 7th time. This is football. Come on, guys, right? So that's what I was thinking. Like before the game even started, I was like, yeah, you could be as optimistic as you want, but I'm not. Like um, I don't really believe this thing where like if you beat them 6 times, you'll get them. They will lose 7 times in a row. I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, man, that's rough. So
yeah, it's rough because so we did have some really good players. I think Debo Samuel played uh, out of his mind this season. He was amazing. He did a lot. We lost a running back early this season, so Debo has to pick up a lot of load there. Um, Mitchell has to do the same thing. And so they did a good job. And at the end, I mean, I don't know how much we can ask from Jimmy. Like he's who he is. Like we just couldn't like we can't expect him to be like Mahomes. Like we don't want him to run because like what would it be the last thing? Because he injured himself last season. He injured himself this season and missed a few games. And so we don't want him to run like Mahomes or Josh Allen. And so I think given the season, I think he did the best he could. And at the end, that was not the result that I would love to see. But what can we say? We just have to come back next season and do it over again with another quarterback, possibly.
maybe this is more of a question for like the off season once we get into
Yeah,
that
of
drought
course,
of
yeah.
content. But how are you feeling about Trey Lance right now?
Um, I don't know. I think he will need to take more snaps.
Yeah.
It's a lot of he needs a lot of experience, and I wanted to see if he can have those good quick release and good read. And I think that's one of the things I think Jimmy was very good at quick release, but the problem is that sometimes he didn't read the field that well. Uh, there were many times during the season where the wide receivers were wide open. He didn't see them. And then that was like a missed opportunity because those would be like easy, like you could gain like more than 10 yards or it would be easy touchdowns. So I feel like if Trey Lance can get better at those, I think what he's going to do this offseason is he's actually going to work on his mechanics. Um, the way he does the ball or something, they didn't really like it or it wasn't quick enough. So he's going to work on it this offseason, and I'm excited to see what he can bring. And as for Jimmy, I think he's for sure knows that he's leaving. Yeah, I think at the presser he said,
Yeah,
it
at
was
the
a
time
good
of recording,
season.
I believe he's asked for a trade.
Yeah, he's asking for a trade. And then we were saying that you and I were talking about maybe the best place for him to go might be the Steelers.
The Steelers do have that system in place.
Yeah.
I can't remember who the Steelers have as their backup. I know it's that new
I forgot
kid.
the name.
It's some rookie. Not rookie, but like he's been behind Ben for like 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the answer, and I think Jimmy G might prove a little bit better. I mean, maybe that's enough to buy time, either to be in a good position for a pick, or I don't know, wait for something to happen.
Yeah, I mean, at least if with the healthy Jimmy and maybe he will actually improve next season, who knows? Maybe they have a chance to contemplate for playoffs again, next season.
Yeah.
But if so, that would be very exciting for the Steelers.
True. Yeah, we'll talk about more of that as the offseason gets going. Let's move on to Super Bowl preview and predictions. Well, I guess it's not much of a preview of the week since we only have the Bengals and the Los Angeles Rams. But
the Rams play at home.
For the last time this season, who do you got?
Oh shoot. I think part of me was saying like the Rams are favor, but I want to say Bengals just for funsies.
For fun.
Because like
Okay.
we can't just be always like Rams. I mean, one of them. So I'm gonna be one of those people. Like, yeah, I want to see like the Bengals upset the Rams somehow. Like I want it to be a good game. Like honestly, I don't really care who wins, but I want it to be a good game. I don't want it to be like really boring games where like we end up having like 10-7. That would be really boring Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. Um, you know, I got Rams. What can I say?
Oh
I
yeah,
wish
there's
I
no
didn't.
reason for you not to, but uh, I think if the Rams lost this time, I think it would be super disappointing for them as a whole team, right? Because they've
It,
been trying to do this for many years. They're trying to do it when they had Jared Goff, and it was embarrassment. They couldn't do much, right?
yeah.
Now they have Stafford. Now this is their second chance. So it will be a lot of pressure on Sean McVay if they couldn't do it this season at this time. I think there will be a lot of question about why they couldn't do it. Why couldn't they? Why they cannot win? So there will be a lot of question about that. So there's a lot of pressure. I feel like there are more pressure on Rams than over Bengals, because Bengals are kind of like, oh wow, we're here, But they haven't been preparing because they're legitimately a good team, right? So it's kind of like surprising to see how far they come along. Like at first, at the beginning of the season, was like, yeah, Cleveland Browns are probably better than Cincinnati Bengals. And look at where the Browns are at now, right? So like it was a little bit surprising to see the Bengals to be like at this position where they're actually contending for Super Bowl. So I don't know. To say that Browns weren't really expecting this moment, I think it's false. It's like something that's not true. I think they deep down have that aspiration, but I feel like Rams have been preparing for this moment for really long. The fact that they, give up multiple draft picks just for Stafford, they signed multiple free agents. It tells you, oh, like what they're really aiming for this season. They say, oh, in, or it's all or nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of pressure on Rams, but for Bengals, I just feel like if they pull this one out, I think it's almost like a shocker, and it would be a nice surprise for them.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about actually we're just gonna talk about it. But the Rams have been kind of villainized for, I guess, picking up everybody, like the best of the best in like free agency.
That's what Los Angeles do. Los
And
Angeles teams do.
yeah, and I don't know, man. I just want to say, like, that's the whole point of free agency. It's
Right.
everyone has a chance to get these players. But LA went and got all of them. And I'm like, why are you complaining? Your team didn't do anything. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
guilty of that. Like, I think the Chargers should have picked up some of those guys. And I'm thinking, like, why didn't we do any of these moves? Like, we
Yeah.
have this year we had 20 million in cap space. And next year we have like 40 million in cap space. And I'm going to be okay, that's a topic for another time, but I was very disappointed that Chargers didn't get anyone in free agency aside from special teams support, because the defense needed support. And LA went and got literally anyone who would be an upgrade to someone who was either mediocre or bad, and then they
Mm-hmm.
replaced those people. And that's just the way free agency should be. Everyone should be vying for these players.
Yeah.
And LA's just been doing a great job at free agency, so I'm not understanding where the hate is coming from assembling a super team. Every team should be striving to be a super team.
Yeah. I mean, they have the freedom to choose what they do, but I do feel like The Rams actually figured it out to actually get players who actually play well, right? There's always a risk, right? Whenever you get like a free agent, they might not pan out because they don't really fit into the scheme. Um, but for them, at least for right now, they're playing pretty well. Looks like the free agents they got, they're pretty decent, right? So it's good for the Rams.
Yeah. On the other side of the ball, I want to talk about like the Bengals, and this is a team that is rebuilding. Like this is their second year into the rebuild, and they're in the Super Bowl. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Chargers have been in the rebuild for the same amount of time, and we're not even close. So the fact that the Bills got here, just a huge testament to the players, the heart of the players, because you have a head coach that's meh. You have an owner that sucks. And somehow you're still here. Your O-line, non-existent. And you're still here at the Super Bowl. That takes guts, man. And Joe Burrow has that. And it's scary because against all odds, everybody was thinking that they were going to lose in the first round, beat the Raiders, which actually maybe some people thought. I also kind of thought that they were going to beat the Raiders, and they did. Then they beat the Titans. No one thought they were going to beat the Titans. Then they beat Kansas City, which again, no one thought they were going to beat Kansas City. And now they're up against the Rams, and people are still doubting them. And while I want the Rams to win because I want to see someone in my family be able to experience a Super Bowl win, man, if they won, that would be a hell of a story to win in your second year with your rookie QB.
Yeah, I think that would be it would be an amazing story. Like it kind of showed that it can be done. Second year rebuild, going to a Super Bowl is possible. Yeah.
So I personally got the Rams here.
Mhm.
But, man, if the Bengals win, I'm not going to be angry.
You were just thinking about like maybe Chargers could have done better.
No,
You were like 30 years the charm.
So I think I was looking at, because I follow some other Chargers YouTube channels, and on Twitter one of them asked like, who do you got and why? And they were rooting for the Bengals because they wanted the Rams to lose because of because LA and battle for
They share
LA.
the same stadium.
And I'm like thinking, like, none of that matters, dude. Like, if you want to read into it so deeply of like how this affects your organization or how it affects the Chargers, like, if you want to read into it, I'll tell you. If the Bengals win, the Bengals managed to win with a rookie quarterback, no O-line, and 2 decent receivers. And if the Rams win, then the Rams won a Super Bowl before the Chargers won a Super Bowl. So I don't want to hear anything about like, oh, I'm rooting for this team because it's better for the Chargers. Both these situations are lose-lose situations for the Chargers. Rookie, same class QB wins a Super Bowl ring in 2 versus, this organization that came 1 year before you won the Super Bowl ring in LA first. So it does not matter. It does not matter. It's a lose-lose situation. Root for who you ever think is going to be the best team or who you have, I guess, an emotional attachment to.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's the Chargers' fault for not being in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean,
I hate when Chargers fans like to like divert responsibility to somebody else. I'm like, nah, dude, you just gotta admit, like, the team messed up. No free agency. Choked against a lot of teams that should have beat. Chargers' fault, man.
Yeah.
I feel like this turned into a rant. Anywho, good on the Bengals.
Well, it's like a couple weeks before Super Bowl, so yeah. Why not?
Yeah, good for the Bengals. It's good for the org. Good for the fans. Good for Cincy. Good for LA. I mean, LA needs some sort of win. They've been trying for like the last 5 years, and they
Do
always
you
come short
think?
because of reasons.
But do you think that if they win, they're actually gonna be able to
Get
have more
fans.
fans?
Honestly, I don't think the impact's gonna be like right away, because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like when a team with no fans wins, it sort of like spills onto the next generation. And it's like
Yeah.
it's all those kids that are watching this team
Mm-hmm.
that like in the future will be fans of the team. The people that can't be there at the
Yeah.
Super Bowl or this season. But yeah, there's gonna be a bunch of either people who bandwagon or people who are fans of the Rams because of whatever happens on the field during the Super Bowl. So
Yeah, we might have a lot of bandwagon fans, but then I'm just saying, I'm just thinking about like, have you looked at the Super Bowl like ticket price? I was like, who's actually gonna go there? I think most people who go there to watch the game, they don't really care about football because like
I
we're talking about thousands of dollars ticket.
I actually think it's going to be a home advantage for the Rams,
Mm-hmm.
and it's mostly because it's just gonna be celebrities.
Yeah,
Like it's gonna be
which they don't really care about the games anyway.
yeah, it's gonna be like B to A tier like celebrities that are gonna be there because they have the
Mm-hmm.
money to afford the ticket, and it's
Mm-hmm.
probably not that far of a drive. So I'm sure we're gonna have like a ton of celebrities being shown on camera all the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna have like baseball player and then basketball player and then other like celebrities and stuff like that.
Probably. I mean, we saw
Yeah, maybe we'll
LeBron
see
at the
on-
Cleveland Rams game, so
Yeah,
I'm sure we're gonna see a bunch of different people.
yeah.
Should
Yeah,
be
I'm
fun
pretty
though.
sure.
I'm just hoping for good commercials. Some movie trailers. Um, anything to make it exciting, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
For sure.
well, I think we did pretty good for only 3 games this week, or I guess technically we
Two
previewed
games,
one,
basically. Yeah.
2
Mhm.
games. Yeah, you got anything else before we head out of here?
No, not much. We do have a Pro Bowl coming up, but I don't know what they're gonna do this year at the Pro Bowl.
There's a skill competition on Thursday, and there's the actual game on Sunday, which no one's gonna be watching the game on Sunday.
Well, you're gonna be following Justin Herbert, right?
I actually have something going on at that time, so I probably won't be watching.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, things upcoming for the podcast. Since there's no games this Sunday, next week we will be covering all the stories not related to the Super Bowl. So coach hirings, coach firings, some lawsuits going on. The name change for Washington football team. So if you enjoyed any of the content that we just talked about today, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and also this week we have the All Elite Wrestling Dynamite review for Wednesday. So that will be premiering on Friday morning. So if you're watching Thursday as this is being uploaded, it's actually tomorrow at 8 a.m. And so, yeah, the podcast will come back as usual on Thursday next week, but we will covering non-Super Bowl related news. And then Friday, that Friday, we will also have another All Elite Wrestling review. For Joseph Yanez, this has been my co-host Lee. We will see you next week.